show you my favorite Australian dessert or cake. Is it a cake? I don't know how to describe this. So it's called a Pavlova, and Australians are obsessed with Pavlova. Everyone that I know in Australia made one for Christmas this year, including me. And I came across this particular Pavlova recipe, I think through Nigella Lawson from memory. I might be wrong, but it's the only chocolate version that I have come across, and it's delicious. So why don't I show you how to make it? It's also kind of healthy, or as healthy as a cake could be, because it's basically a meringue cake. So it's full of egg whites and sugar. Obviously the sugar is not the best for you, but egg whites are full of protein is what I tell myself, and it's full of berries. So let's have at it. To make this, you're going to need, okay, don't judge me. You should have just a baking tray. I don't have any baking trays, but I need to add them to my wish list. So I just have like a Pyrex dish with some parchment paper, you guys call it, but I call it baking paper. The parchment paper name is weird. I'm gonna put that aside because I'm not gonna need it for a while. You need a bowl. You need an electric whisker. I mean, you could try and do this by hand, but it would be kind of fucked. You'd build some muscle for sure if you were having to whip this by hand. 300 grams of caster sugar, 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. Usually I'm gonna come back to this one. 500 grams of berries. I use raspberries and strawberries because raspberries are kind of expensive at the moment. You want about 70 grams of dark chocolate. And when I say dark, I go 70 to 95% if you can do it. And then 6 eggs. Technically, we're just gonna use the egg whites. Now, normally, I'll put a photo up so you can see what I normally do. Normally, I would buy 500 milliliters of heavy cream. We call it double cream in Australia. But at the moment there is, I don't know if you've seen it in the news, I shouldn't laugh because it's actually kind of scary. There's a massive bird flu outbreak happening at the moment. Great opportunity for me as a veterinarian to teach you about it, because at the moment there's almost no milk in the supermarkets, and the eggs were nearly out as well. Bird flu is really scary from a veterinary perspective. It crosses between a lot of different animals, and it can actually affect humans, but it only creates mild flu symptoms in humans. So no one's gotten extremely sick in that sense, but this is a kind of virus that has the potential to mutate and become a very scary virus to people. And the reason why is because it can affect pigs. Pigs are actually a really common animal that we see viruses mutate in, because they have really, and the reason why it particularly affects humans is because they have a very similar lung cell to humans. And so when viruses affect them, it can easily jump to people. Kind of scary. At the moment, this bird flu is affecting wild and domesticated birds, which is why we're running out of eggs in the supermarkets. And it's affecting milk production for cattle, which is why we're seeing not much milk in the supermarkets. So this is actually a super precious purchase at the moment. And I wouldn't be surprised if we struggle to get milk and eggs really soon. As far as eating the dairy itself, you don't need to stress too much. So any milk that's pasteurized, you're not going to be affected by the virus. The pasteurization process inactivates the virus, and cooking eggs will also inactivate the virus. So it's safe to eat if it's cooked. But now is 1000% not the time to be feeding your pets a raw diet, particularly eggs. A lot of people put raw eggs into their raw meat diets for their pets. And I understand trying to look for a source of protein for animals, but the raw eggs at the moment are a very scary thing. I don't know if there's any cases of dogs and cats being affected specifically from this at the moment, but if eggs are not washed well before sale, so particularly backyard eggs, you could get sick from it. And you probably shouldn't be feeding raw eggs to dogs and cats regardless, because salmonella is like a massive thing in eggs and they can get sick. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's make a fucking cake now. What we need to do first is we need to separate out our egg whites from our egg yolks. And I'm gonna sip my coffee as we go, because girl needs some caffeine. I think once you work night shift just a little bit in your life, you can never escape caffeine anymore. So these eggs, these ones are nice and clean. These ones will be safe for me to handle without getting sick. So we want to sieve out basically the egg whites on their own. We don't want the yolk. I like to keep the yolks aside and I cook them up for my puppy dogs to eat. A little tip that I can give you is that when I go to crack eggs, I used to, when I was younger, I'd crack the egg on like an edge of a bowl, but you're more likely to get little bits of eggshell break off if you do that, whereas if you crack it on a flat surface, it actually doesn't do it. So you crack your egg in half and it makes like a little seat for the egg yolk, and then you're just going to gently wiggle it between the two shells and let the egg white kind of drip out of the shell, and then we're gonna put it in. I just realized I put my egg yolk and my egg whites in the wrong bowls. That's really fun. I'm gonna fix that. All right, so we need 6 eggs. Okay, in the right bowl this time. Look at me go. Oh Lord, my mum would be so disappointed in me. All right, deal with them later. So Pavlova is like my go-to dessert, I would say. I make it for birthdays. I make it for Christmas. It's like a real holiday cake. So it kind of looks like, you know how you can buy like tiny little meringues? So it's just a really, oh my God, get off your little doogie. This looks familiar. Oh no, I'm going to hell one day. 1, 2, 3. Oh no. So this is what you don't want to do. I'm going to show you. So I cracked that. That didn't crack very well. So we have a tiny little bit of egg yolk in there. There's actually not even a tiny bit. So I'm going to get a spoon and I'm going to try and get that out. Motherfucker. I swear because you guys are going to have to bleep it. Okay, let's try and get some of this out. Like the teeniest, tiniest bit won't affect it, but like you'd be surprised how much a little will affect this cake. You know what? I have cracked eggs for Pavlovas every year since I was probably 10 years old, and I think I've only ever managed to do this once. It's because I'm recording myself. You know, the second you want to actually make something public, that's when you mess it up. Okay, that's a good blob to get. Get out. Get out, sir. Okay. I think that might be enough to save it. All right, let's see what else can go wrong. What?
You can use your fingers too.
I don't want to, I was worried that people would judge me if I used my fingers.
All the chefs do.
I know all the chefs do, but I'm like an OnlyFans girl and people like to find anything to like get angry at me about. So I'm gonna be good. Not use my fingers. Okay. Let's do that again. I wasted most of that egg. So we're gonna crack an extra one to be safe, I think. These eggs seem to have like really fragile shells, so I wonder if this bird flu is actually affecting the egg production a little bit as well. But I've noticed that American eggs in general have more fragile shells than the eggs that I would buy in Australia. And also like they're crazy white, and I remember learning a while back there's a reason why they're really white, and I forget what it is, but you guys feed chickens something that makes the yolks more yellow, and then you do something to the shells that make them more white. Like, why, guys? Just let it be. Doesn't matter. Tastes the same. Not necessary. Yeah, this is my makeup egg. Yeah, that was a good one. door. I'm not washing it down the sink, but I'm going to give it to my dogs later. Okay, so next step, have a sip of coffee. And the next step after that is we're actually going to beat this until satiny white peaks form. So the next thing we're going to do is measure out 300 grams of caster sugar. Alright, let's see if I have batteries in here. Perfect. So the trick with the meringue is when you go to add this sugar in, you want to add it really slowly. If you add it quickly, it bursts the meringue and you lose the peaks, the peakiness of it. So we're going to add just a tiny bit, like even a spoon at a time. And add a little bit more. See how it's gone really glossy and almost sticky? Chef's kiss. That is perfecto. All right, now we are going to, God, I would normally lick the spoon so hard, but with the bird flu going on at the moment and like viruses being on things, I'm trying to be really careful. So I'm trying to like wash my hands in between stuff and I want to lick it. And it's pretty safe. I mean, you could get salmonella, I guess. Maybe I shouldn't be telling you to eat the bowl, lick the bowl, whatever, but I do it. I haven't gotten sick yet, but I'm not going to do it now. All right, so next we're going to, so normally with the cocoa powder, I would sieve it in, but I don't own a sieve. So this stuff, it's not like sometimes you'll get chunks of cocoa powder and that can be a bit much when you eat it, but this one looks okay. So 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. Sprinkle it over the top. Sieve it out if you have a sieve, otherwise be bold like me. And then the thing that I really like about this particular Pavlova recipe, which I haven't seen others do, is you do a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. Sounds a bit crazy, and it also sounds like not enough to make a difference, but it really does like make it a little more tart. I don't like super sweet desserts. I like it to be, I think that a dessert that's easy to eat isn't super full of sugar and sweet. I should have chopped this up earlier, but you need 50 grams of chocolate and then a little bit extra to sprinkle over at the top. This is a 100-gram block, so we're going to do about 2/3 of it. I like buying the block and chopping it up because it makes it a little more rustic. The pieces are all slightly different sizes. Oh, you're such a helpful puppy. My dog is at my feet. So I just chop it into, I chop one way and then switch direction. This better. I'm a gym junkie too. All right, so I like lots of like slightly uneven chunks, so we're going to sprinkle probably 2/3 of this on top. It's going to go in the mix, and then the rest is going to be for decoration. And then we're going to fold it really gently. So you don't want to beat a meringue when you're folding stuff in. You want to be gentle, because if you beat it, you'll lose all of the air and the egg white. Tintin, ma'am, can you please move? Thank you. So I scrape the spoon along the side of the bowl and then kind of flop it over in the middle. I'm going to do that. It seems mildly runny, so I honestly think the egg yolk did actually have a little bit of an effect on it, but I think that it should still keep its shape. If it fails, then that is awkward, because I've never failed this pavlova before. Oh my god, I'm so excited to eat this. All right, so now we're going to put it on our baking paper. Basically, you blob it on and you make it form like a roughly 20 centimeter round disc. Oh, I had a big blob of cocoa in there, right at the bottom. Just mix that in. Because if you don't mix it in, it's going to be pretty bitter when you go to eat it. It's fine still, like, I've had it happen before and it's fine. Oh my god, I want to lick this bowl so bad. Screw this bird flu. Okay. So, it is a little runny, but it's not so runny that this isn't going to work. So now we're going to put this in the oven. The second we put it in the oven, we're going to turn the temperature down from 350 degrees Fahrenheit to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, let me consult my Celsius, 130 degrees Celsius. And we're going to put it in for an hour to an hour and a quarter. So it actually bakes for a pretty long time. So in we go. I love strawberries. There was something that was being spread by strawberries not that long ago, and I'm trying to remember what it was now.
Listeria.
What was it?
Listeria.
That's right, it was listeria. Yeah. I remember there was this big, like, don't eat them to strawberries, but I'm fine now. I just got the old bird flu. Bird flu is devastating though. Like, I'm actually kind of nervous as to, so apparently 70% of the dairy population in California is like struggling because when they get sick with the flu, they can die from it if it's severe enough because it acts like a pneumonia with them basically. But because it's so contagious, even if they get a mild version, it affects their milk production. Their milk production goes down a bunch, and then they're just not making as much milk, so then the supply gets affected. And the poor little babies get so sick. There's nothing sadder than a cow with a cold or a flu. Like, they're just, the poor things are so miserable. Some of these strawberries are questionable. I'm just gonna chop around the weird bits. Nearly there. That's weird. God, I did not choose my strawberry tub well. Thinking I might do like a savory Australian channel thingy for you. Should let me know if you do want to see it. There's this bread that we make. So I'm planning to go camping soon, and there's this bread that we used to make back in the gold mining days and the explorer days called damper. And damper is like a bread that you like make in the fire. So let me know if you want me to make that for you guys. It's like a really floury bread, but it's delicious with honey and butter is what they typically put on it. Cool. Now we wait. All right, guys, we've let it cool for about an hour, so now we're going to put it together. So I got distracted earlier telling you about the reason why I was bringing up the bird flu stuff earlier is because now dairy is really hard to get a hold of. So normally what I would do, and I'll put a picture in here so that you can understand what I would do, I would take heavy cream and I would whip it so that it's like a super thick cream, and I would put that all over the top of the pavlova and then put berries on top. Problem is there's no heavy cream available in the stores at the moment because the bird flu has affected the dairy system so badly. But I did find extra creamy dairy whipped topping. So I wouldn't normally make it with this, just because I find that these whipped toppings, they're full for a second and then it kind of collapses and becomes watery. But beggars can't be choosers, so we're gonna use it. And normally I would get the whole pavlova and I would put the cream on top and then the berries and serve it all together. But because I'm using this, I'm gonna cut a slice and I'm gonna make it in like a slice version so that you can see what I guess one portion would look like, if that makes sense. But make it like this photo coming up if you're making it at home. All right, so when it comes out, it'll crumble a bit, so don't panic at that. The fun of a pavlova is the fact that it sinks a bit and makes cracks that the whipped cream and stuff can get into. So normally what I would do is I would like gently roll this out from underneath the pavlova all the way out, and I would serve it just on this board like this. But because we're using a different type of cream, I'm going to do it differently today. So instead, just for today, we're going to cut a slice. Oh my God, it's so crispy. You should feel like a crunch when you sink into it. Don't panic at that crunch. Also, it is a little gooey in the middle, which is exactly the way it's supposed to be. And we're going to lift it off this paper. Woo! So you can cook it for, it says like an hour to an hour and a quarter. If you cook it on the more like the hour side, like I did for this one, you'll notice that it's like a little gooier in the middle, and I really like it that way. I don't know if you can see that. It's like super gooey. If you cooked it for that extra 15 minutes, then it comes out differently. All right. So normally you would put all of the whipped cream, the heavy cream whipped on top. So we're just going to do it here. It's not going to look as pretty, but it's okay. And then you would cover it with berries. Like lots of berries. We bought a lot for a reason. And that is pavlova. I want to eat some. Oh, I have a spoon here. Oh my gosh. My favorite part is this bit. The like chewy little meringue on the side. Oh my God. It's so good. My favorite cake. You guys should definitely make it. I'm going to go eat all of this now. See you guys.